We have various traditions in various marriages across the world. The white wedding we so highly elevate in our country is not our traditional, it's the white man's traditional marriage. Okay, we have our own traditional marriage in Africa. Let me bring it down to Nigeria. Most of the traditions in marriages in Nigeria, I don't know about other parts of Africa, always favor the men. As a matter of fact, I can boldly say 90% always favor the men, and 95% of the time possibly always punish the women for just one particular thing: infidelity. In any case of adultery in various cultures in Nigeria, there are different kinds of curses, plagues that it attracts. Why some other tribes don't have any kind of such plagues, no matter how many times women commit adultery. But in the South, let me use Delta State as a case study. And in Delta State, let me use Urobo and Isoko, right? The Urobo nation, covering of Isoko, and the rest of them. Let me use them as a case study. When you're married to an Urobo man, whether you're an Urobo woman or not, but it works faster when you're an Urobo woman or Isoko woman or Kwe woman, whatever the tribe is in the Urobo nation. When you are married to them, one thing I would advise you as a lady is to not consider having an affair. Now, in some deeper families, you will find where it's tougher than others. Let me give an example. As an Urobo wife, all right, when I mean an Urobo wife, covering all the nations now, whether it was a mistake, whether it was intentional, whatever the case may be, some punishment will come upon you, even if it's just a hug. Some men go that far of connecting you to those ancestral deities, even as little as a hug. You can inflict yourself. Then if you go the extra mile of having sex, of course, that's you opening the door directly for whatever to come in. Now, this is how most of them work. It works like this: when you, the woman, gets into adultery and you come back home without anyone knowing, and you cook food for your husband and children. If the husband is unaware, and of course the children will definitely be unaware, and they eat your food, or maybe the husband also has sex with you sometime along the line, innocently, like you are his wife, of course. What the tradition is, either your kids will start dying one after the other, or the husband will die first. But they will first fall sick in such a way that there will be no cure, just going from hospital to hospital, and we don't know what is happening. Yes, the families of the man will immediately just know, like this woman has stepped outside. They know that it's no longer something for medicine. It's something they need to visit the village for and do some necessary rites and rituals to undo that plague from the family. But first, the woman would need to confess if she really wants to save the life of her husband or her children. But some women are so stubborn to say, no, I didn't do anything. I swear I didn't do anything. And the man would die. And some would even watch their kids die in the process. That's how severe some of these plagues are in this particular environment. Other parts of Nigeria, there are different plagues like that, where you would see, in the case where the woman commits adultery, there's another part in the east where the woman mistakenly commits adultery for any reason, whether the man drove her insane into the adultery, she would just run mad immediately. But she would be unaware, because these things don't work without the man's approval. Then sometimes it doesn't have to necessarily need the man's approval. It just only needs the lineage's approval, the family's approval. So you call yourself born again Christian, this, but you're unaware that there is a price that your ancestors paid on your head that is still following you. So break ourselves from all those ancestral things. The women are not going to shout amen so that they can go and commit adultery. But one thing I'm uncomfortable with is, why do the women have to always be at the receiving end of these punishments? Only the women. Even in the West, where you see people who get stuck during sex and are unable to separate from themselves, you find that is what the man did to make sure that wherever the woman steps out, that will be her end. But the men step out every second. As a matter of fact, they have like 16 girlfriends on their streets, and they are allowed to, because it's a man's world. What an unfair world. So whatever principle applies to the women should apply to the men. That men can zip up. If you have a fantasy, turn your wife into that fantasy, create that fantasy with your wife, and appease your perversion. Appease it and be satisfied at the end of the day. And you women, you need to loosen up. Stop being very stiff and rigid. Stop being uninteresting to have sex with. Stop being dull, boring, unexcited. It's very sad. It's a very sad thing. As a matter of fact, let me tell you a true life story. I'll be right back.